For example, enforcing the Patriot Act. Well, there are certain people who qualify under the Patriot Act who, are going to have problems. But what we look at in terms of the whole picture is that the belief that they're somehow contractually involved with the federal government, and they are. They accept money from federal government in order to hire more policemen or do some such thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in accepting the money, then they become bound contractually, not constitutionally, to enforce federal laws, regulations, and this and that. But what kind of federal laws? Well, the commercial. And it still doesn't give them a right to violate your constitutionally protected rights. Now we talk about wartime powers. There's a conflict of interest in granting many of these wartime powers. I mean, we're at war with something, a nebulous enemy called terrorism. Well, who's chasing people down under armed force demanding money? Is that an act of terrorism? What was my act of terrorism? I wanted to buy some groceries and go home. But here's armed force taking my car, this and that. Which one of us is trying to instill fear? Who's the terrorist? We're at war with these people, right? If you believe the papers, we have a terrorist on the loose, and it isn't me.
You're self-governing.
Well, to the extent that I don't want to hurt anybody, I don't even want to hurt Jedediah Smith. That's why I'm a little reluctant to really sue him for anything more than just the towing bills. And
Well,
maybe a
terrorism
decent
terrorism
per diem
is
without a car or something.
interrupting the functions, the normal functions of government. So if you're self-governing, they're terrorizing and interrupting your government.
In a sense, yeah, in the common law, sure, that's right. But, like I said, they're even under the statutes, they're not allowed to do that. Here's the statutes right here.
Right, they're violating even the
Even
commercial.
the commercial side of it, because by roping me into the commercial jurisdiction, they're going against the preamble to the entire Uniform Commercial Code, for example. It's not here to overthrow the Constitution, but to do what the Constitution did, or to complete it in doing a standardizing set of laws
It has to
for
accomplish.
business and for trade and commerce.
It has to accomplish common law.
Right. For the people who have rights under the common law, all those shalls and musts become mays and mights. And all of those shells and to be's or something become future. Someday we'll do that, but we haven't gotten around to it yet. And that's how you interpret them in order to protect those rights.
Proper syntax, I guess.
Well, it's a question of just getting, now the black sixth will go into shall, and it will talk about it. In some cases it's used as a future without actually describing the fact that those cases are when somebody wants to defend a constitutionally protected personal right. The discretionary part is left out, and I like this older dictionary for that. But I do really like the definition in the future tense for words like to be, which aren't mentioned in here, are to be available and ready. Well, someday they'll be to be. That could be a someday, or it could be a right now. Well, the legal fiction is a right now, because the future does mean right now to a legal fiction. It's immortal, it's timeless. There's no.
And that's why generally people will think that in a courtroom, past, present, and future is all the same.
Right, and they are to a legal fiction.
In a commercial courtroom.
Right, and that's where you are. And so you have to but you have statutes that regulate and keep the government from applying commercial law. We have the definitions may and must, of may and might for shall and must. Might is past tense of may. I might have done this or that.
Mm-hmm.
He did that he might have, or might do something else. That's past. But may. I do that I may. Okay. It's past present. But the conditionals they're kind of fun, but you have to be very careful with them. that I am this or that I be this, whichever, conditional.
What's the difference between I am and I be?
Okay, I bought some extra gasoline and put it into a storage can that I be prepared for. Okay, that I might be, that I could be, that I would have, could have, should have, that I be prepared for any emergencies. Okay, we don't know if I'll be prepared, but in the case of the emergency requires some fuel, I'm prepared. That I be prepared for an emergency. Okay, I did this in order to,
Contingency.
that's a conditional, that's if the
A condition.
emergency actually applies to the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't know that, it will, but, so if you, something you're really not certain of, that's conditional, if this. So, if I be, or that I, we're making a statement that I am prepared.
And
It's much less conditional.
Hmm?
That I am prepared is much less conditional.
Much less, yes. We know I'm gonna make it now. If I have a fuel emergency, I have fuel. Of course, it turns out the diesel was the one that ran out and I bought gas. We're not sure. But it's less conditional, you're
We
right.
were struggling over this wording, I be versus I am, in regards to a declaration.
Where?
Bill and I were struggling
Right,
over
IB
that.
is a conditional. That's an if.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Well,
that's,
that's all.
I am,
That
that's
settles
that's
that.
much more certain. That's just a high
Mhm.
probability of certainty, and IB is, I still might not be prepared. I bought the fuel that I didn't run out of fuel, I ran out of apples or something.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I wasn't prepared for that. But it was an emergency, I needed apples. Whatever it is.